Da, da, da. Well, I had to do it. It's episode 57, and it's a Rays Day, 2002 style. Last time that we looked into the Rays, obviously it was 2001, hence now it's 2002. And I'm sure that you all have been itching to find out more about our favorite team, the Tampa Bay Rays. Then they were known as the Devil Rays, however. Here's a quick shot of their team card with their wonderful green sleeved with the cutoff shirts. But 2001, they were ready to go into this season. They was going to be the first year of Hal McRae being their manager. They lost 100 games in 2001, so this was going to be a great season. It was their fifth season in existence, and some certain things happened this year that didn't happen the year before. This is the first time the Rays didn't go out and sign crazy big free agents in the offseason, a la Hit Show, that kind of was a big flop in 2001 and 2000, in the year 2000. So at 2002, Canseco was gone, McGriff was gone, Vinny Castilla was gone, Greg Vaughn was the only holdover. Again, like I said, Hal McRae was starting his first full season as manager, having taken over for Larry Rothschild. Oh, the sky was the limit with this team. However, we didn't really have any decent players. We did have a good draft, however. June 4th, we drafted B.J. Upton, who later became Melvin Upton, who again is B.J. Upton. And he was drafted number 2 overall, and we also drafted Elijah Dukes, another player with huge promise. We got him in the 3rd round. That year, in September 22nd, actually, of 2002, is when we released the Phenom Toe Nash. The day after he was released from prison, we released him from the Rays. So he was no longer with us, even though he made a big splash. 2002 is also supposed to be huge because this was supposed to be the year of Josh Hamilton. When Josh Hamilton came up, 2001, he had an injury-plagued season, so this was going to be his time to shine. So everything was on deck for the season. We started off against the Detroit Tigers. My parents and I also had season tickets this year, so we were out in left field, and the Rays swept the Tigers to start the year. Woohoo! It was going to be a good year. We had a team full of basically people that no one has ever heard of, and we swept the Tigers, and it was going to be great. And then we promptly fell flat on our face, and by the end of April, the Rays lost 15 straight games. Yep, from April 24th to May 11th, they lost 15 consecutive games. And one of those 15 games, if you Red Sox fans remember, was a Derek Lowe no-hitter that he threw against the Rays. So that was tucked in there. The best moment of the season for the Rays was when Randy Winn actually, I believe he hit a walk-off home run against the Orioles to end the 15-game losing streak. But at that point, the season was done. For the regular season, we didn't lose 100 games. We lost 106 games. We went 55 and 106. Granted, I will have to tell you, this guy was not rehired or not brought back for a second year. There's a couple things. This year, we had 22 games where we gave up double digits. That's 10 or more runs in 22 games. Actually, on June 25th, we gave up 20 runs to the Toronto Blue Jays. Lost that one. And on July 23rd, we gave up 22 runs to the stinking Red Sox. And the ironic thing about that game is I believe that our opening day starting pitcher started that game. So that kind of tells you the shape that our pitching staff was in. But let's quick run down the starting lineup brought to you by the Rays, Devil Rays, in 2002. And let's see how many of these players are household names still. Leading off and playing in left field, we had Jason Tyner. We picked him up from the Mets, actually in 2001, I believe it was. And he had a solid season in 2001. And that was about it for his career. 2002, he amassed a whopping 26 hits and was on the shuttle between AAA and here during the year. Batting second for the Rays in that opening game was Randy Winn. Randy Winn actually was our only All-Star that game. he had an awesome season. And at the end of the season, he was traded to the Seattle Mariners. Unfortunately, I wish we would have kept Randy Winn. He had some good seasons with the Mariners, also had some really good seasons with the Giants, but we traded him for a gentleman by the name of Antonio Perez. Okay, that was my reaction. I don't remember Antonio Perez, but we also got a manager by the name of Lou Piniella. So I wish we would have kept Randy Winn. We also, starting at first base, was Steve Cox. He took over for Fred McGriff after McGriff was traded. He actually had a decent season this year. He had played in about 148, 150 games. He amassed 100 plus hits, 16 home runs, decent and solid in the field. So things were looking up for Steve Cox, except at the end of the season, he was sold flat out to the Yokohama Bay Stars. Was it Bay Stars, Yokohama? But he was sold to them. He did sign again with the Rays a couple years later, but was released and never played a game with the Rays again, nor in the major leagues. So at least we got some money for him. We also had a 30-plus-year-old. He was getting actually 36 this year. Greg Vaughn was our DH. He appeared only in 60-some-odd games. He split time between DH left field. This guy gave it everything he had. The last remnant of the hit show. But he was released the next spring training. He did pick on, I think there's another couple teams he played for before his career ended. At catcher, we had a potential superstar in Toby Hall. He split games with John Flaherty, who was still my all-time favorite Rays catcher. But the future looked bright for this guy. We ended up in a few seasons trading him to the Dodgers, and he played a few years, I believe, with the White Sox, but not the superstar that people thought. In right field, never one of my favorite players, but we had Ben Grieve, who played in right field. In 2002, he batted .251. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. He was mediocre. We could have kept Bubba Trammell out there. But Ben Grieve played right field. Second base, and we had a solid Brent Abernathy played second. He only played a few years in the majors. But he was our second baseman for 2002. Average, nothing great, nothing horrible. I believe he finished his career out with the Minnesota Twins. Our shortstop was Mr. Chris Gomez, who he got from the Padres. He played about a year and a half with the Rays. Was later released. He did have a solid 16-year career, so he did hang on a lot of times as a utility infielder. Our other starter that day was third baseman Bob Smith. He was touted in 1998 as the heir apparent infielder. He was going to be a superstar. He actually could play every position. By 2002, he believed, actually I wrote it down here, he was released on May 8th of 2002. He picked up with the Brewers, the Yankees, the White Sox twice, the A's, never played another major league game. And he only had maybe a handful of hits in 2002, 10 maybe. But I'm going to rifle through some of these other players that were on the squad. As I mentioned earlier, my favorite catcher, John Flaherty, half-time there. We had a solid utility infielder in Russ Johnson. The greatest name ever in baseball was one of our pitchers, Nick Bierbrot. Kidding me? Baseball, beer, brats. Aubrey Huff, this was his first really good season here. Ended up being a starter at the end of the season. He was our DH, later played first base, played third base. Our number one pitcher, Joe Kennedy, still had double-digit losses, single-digit victories, as did Ryan Roop, another one of our starters that was a starter all year long. Jose Guillen, pretty much done with the Rays, had solid seasons after he left. And Esteban Yan, a really good reliever, played a long time in a lot of countries in a lot of different leagues. We also had Felix Martinez, kind of a splash over here in the infield. One time touted as our ace, no longer our ace, and I believe this may have been his last year, was Brian Rekar, if he even pitched in 2002. I don't even remember. And then we did sign a free agent that people would remember, especially in Boston. We signed Troy O'Leary. Yep, he amassed 0 at-bats with the Rays. He did later sign. He was picked up, I believe it was in January. He was released in March in spring training. And he did pick on with their catch on with the Montreal Expos, and I believe he played out the year with the Expos. We do have some prospect cards that came along in 2002, and one was Nathan Kaup. This is the last year he ever played in organized baseball. He never played above Double-A. His last season was with the Orlando Rays, right down the road, Double-A. Never played a major league game. Also, Neil Friendling. What a nice name. Just kind of gives you a little feel-good. Neil Friendling. He actually stopped playing organized baseball in 2006 with the Gary South Shore Rail Cats of the Independent League. I believe it was the American Association in 2006. Or maybe it was the Northern League. I don't remember what they called it then. And then we also had Sean Riggins, who did come up a couple different times. He played a total of 64 Major League games, but not in 2002. He didn't get called up, I believe, until 2006. So he was still in the minors a little bit. And then Mr. Dewan Brazelton. He was going to be a Hall of Fame pitcher, even though he had never pitched before. But this guy was splashed all over the newspapers here. I believe there's a couple documentaries about him also. This year he did get called up late in the season. He pitched about 13 innings. His record was 0-1. However, in 2002 he did pitch in Double-A and moved up to Triple-A, so he amassed a whopping record of 6-9, I believe, that year. But 2002 did have some notable moments. A 20-year-old by the name of Carl Crawford was called up to the team. And we all have heard of Carl Crawford, so that is awesome stuff. He started playing out in 2002. He ended the season as our starter in left field. And we also had a third baseman that ended up starting after the mess in the infield, Jared Sandberg. He played with the Rays for a while, bounced around a little bit. It was a minor league coach and manager with the Rays, and now he's some sort of manager, coach, assistant, minor league, something with the Mariners. And then also in this year we have this card here. It's a Wade Boggs card. It's a now and then or something like that. But you all know my thoughts on Wade Boggs and his retired number out in the outfield. He should never have had number 12 retired here with the Rays. That's all I'm saying. It's ridiculous. But it's about money. It's about PR. And he's a hometown boy. But he never should have had his number retired as a Ray. There we go. 2002 Rays. A whopping record of 55 and 105-6 losses. So that kind of stunk. It was a brutal year. Hal McRae lost his job. We will see you for the next Rays Day as we go into 2013. Thought I'd kill the suspense and the cliffhanger. 2013. That was horrible. 2003.